Okay, so this is 1298 here, um, and we have this tennis player here and hitting the ball at a horizontal velocity of VA, and it just clears the net and lands at C. So we're trying to find two things. What is the horizontal velocity? So it just barely clears the net, and also what is this distance S that it lands beyond the net? All right, so those two things. So we need to figure out kind of the time that it takes for the ball to fall. So we'll first talk about the time that it takes for the ball to travel from A to B. So from A to B here, um, we have this equation which is y equals y naught plus the velocity, original velocity, I guess we can call that VA in the y direction times t plus 1/2 uh, constant acceleration t squared. Okay, we already know that there's no initial vertical velocity here, so this term comes out to 0 here. We know that the original height is 7.5 where the person hits the ball, and then this final here where it barely clears the net is 3. All right, so this is the time that it takes just to be at B, and we know the acceleration due to gravity is negative 32.2 feet per second squared. All right, so solving this equation, we come out with a time of 0.5287 seconds. Okay, all right. Now let's talk about the time that it takes from A to C here. And we'll use a similar equation. And I'm just going to leave off this term because we know it's 0. All right, so the original height is again 7.5 here. And the final height is 0, so it's at 0 there. And solving this equation for t, we have a total time in the air of 0.6825 seconds. Okay. Now let's move on to talk about uh, the velocities here. So in the velocities, we know it must cover this distance of 21 feet and this time period here. So we just have this equation that S equals vt, all right, and this is the horizontal velocity of A. So we know that this is 21 feet, and we know the time that it takes to go over the net is 0.5287 seconds, and that brings velocity of A to be 39.72 feet per second, and that's one of our answers. And we can round that to 39.7 for significant figure's sake. Okay, and the next thing we're trying to find is S, the distance here, S. Well, if we know the time, the difference in times between going over the net and touching the ground, then we can figure out the distance that it travels. So we'll use the same equation, S here, and we know the velocity of 39.72. So what distance does it travel in between when it hits the ground and when it goes over the net? That's 5287. And performing this calculation, we come out with about 6.11 feet. And that is our answer here for 1298.